Hi everybody, welcome to Nazo's Circus. How are you guys doing? It's a lovely bright day in, where is this? Northampton? Guys, I came all the way to Northampton to my guest's home and we are enjoying and recording from here. So let's start with introductions. Lovely lady, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Amaka Nnadi.
Is that what you're going to say?
Oh, okay. I'm Amaka Nnadi Nwosu, and yeah, nice to meet you all.
Okay, I'll come back to you, but I'll let you off for now. Mr. Man, can you introduce yourself?
You've got her hubby here, IK Nnadi.
Okay, so Amaka Nnadi, IK Nnadi. I know you as Nene, I know you as Melo, so that's how I'm going to
the same thing.
refer.
Yeah.
One and the same.
That's fine.
I'll refer to you guys as Nene and Melo. And we have one more guest, a handsome man. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. And I'm Kenechukwu Dumogo.
Kenechukwu Dumogo. Yes. So guys, I'll call him Kenny. So if you hear me say Kenny, I'm referring to this handsome man next to me. Kenny and Nene are siblings. Melo is Nene's husband, and today we're having a conversation about autism. Guys, so we've had conversations before this just to warm up. Nene and Melo have an autistic daughter. Kenny has an autistic son. So Nene, I think I'll start with you guys. Can you guys just talk me through early days? What were the signs? What did you see? When did you find out? All that.
So we didn't really see any signs until she really started school or nursery. There were signs, but we didn't think anything of them because obviously we weren't thinking in terms of that. But I think when things got really pronounced was when she got into school, and then having some challenges and having what we now know as meltdowns, struggling in terms of the social setting, making friends, just following the dynamic of the day and just trying to follow all the rules, and also holding herself really rigid to all the rules of the day. So so my daughter is 13 at the moment. So even just thinking back to when she was in nursery before going into school, you'd take her into nursery. If it wasn't tidy, she'd walk out.
Really?
There was nothing you could do about it. She would walk out. It had to be ordered. And if she went in there and something was, nursery, you've got lots of little kids there screaming. Sometimes she just couldn't take it, but we didn't tie it to anything. When she started school, like at 4 reception, I remember she was excited to go. And then the first day, she screamed the school down. I started crying because I didn't know how to help. I didn't know what was going on. The school were fantastic. And I just couldn't, I didn't know what it was. Because she had like a
first nursery. Was it nursery?
No, reception.
Big school.
This was reception, and she was excited to go. There was no reason why not. And the first day, we couldn't stop her. I'm not saying, she screamed for half an hour. It was ongoing. And so I thought, okay, I don't know what's going on. The teacher, her reception teacher was fantastic. What she did, actually, this was the settling in period. So what she did, she went to Kamsi's nursery school and she did a book for her, took pictures. Her teacher knew or had an idea, took a picture of her classroom, the music room, the assembly room, and all of those things. It's like, this is your class. So there was a picture. This is your class. I'm your teacher, Mrs. Gunn. This is what you will be doing. Went to see, not only did she do the book for her, then she went to Kamsi's nursery school to see her in her environment and get Kamsi used to her.
Okay.
This was fortunate because it was a very small school anyway. And, we were off. I still wasn't thinking in terms of, we weren't thinking, it wasn't just.
Yeah. So were you there, Melo? Were you there on that first day of school? Yes. Oh, you heard? Oh, you were there?
He picked up the pieces.
So you were crying. What were you feeling when she had that cry?
He wasn't in school with me.
Okay.
Like every parent, when you hear that, how would you feel? You don't want your children to go through that.
So Nene came back and told you what happened.
Yes.
We had no answers. Lots of questions.
So the teacher went out of her way
She did.
to go to the nursery school, take pictures, everything,
No. She took pictures of her own class.
Her own
That's
class.
where Kamsi was going to be.
where she was now wondering, like, where is this new place you've taken me to?
But she wanted Kamsi to see her again.
Okay.
You know, and so she went to and then it was an opportunity for her to talk to Kamsi's nursery school leads. So that when Kamsi eventually started, she was comfortable.
Okay.
And she loved it. Her teacher was incredible.
So after that first day of a meltdown, basically,
It was
and the teacher did all that, she
was fine. But then there was also the learning.
Yeah, was it Miss Gunn or something?
Yeah, she was
like that?
fantastic,
Yeah,
Mrs.
She was
Gunn.
quite good.
Yeah. But then things kind of went into another level in year 1. It's a different teacher. And also she'd had a year of experience, you know, being, having some of those struggles with friendships and trying to build bonds. You'd be able to enter into a friendship situation, but staying locked in and then being sidelined, not being picked as a partner for PE, for this and that, or teacher then belittling you in class, saying, oh, she's going to do this. And I hadn't realized she was going through all that. And I still didn't know. So the teacher I was having weekly meetings in school from year 1, trying to understand. There was still a lot of questions. There were no answers at this point.
I think that was going to be my next question before I move on to Kenny. I was going to ask you, so at this point, from that nursery, the initial nursery thing of her not wanting to stay unless everything was orderly, and then having the meltdown in year 1, throughout that period, you were just wondering what was going on, right? Okay, so nothing had been...
Nothing. We'd been referred to play therapists. We sent her for 2 terms of play therapy. She asked to see a feelings doctor. She was only, mind you, she was about 6 at this point. She was like, oh, she wants to see a feelings doctor. So we did some research, found her a really good therapist. She went the second...
There was a huge switch from the reception to...
Year 1.
Switch in what? In her prison, in how she was?
Yes, because obviously Miss Gunn had it under control, more or less. So maybe, and I think it's that thing about structure. I think she had that structure with Miss Gunn. And they went into year 1, it was non-existent.
So one,
it kind of almost...
It was like in a brand new...
Okay. And then they were calling her in all the time to school. And then at some point we thought, no, it has to be the teachers.
Because what's going on?
What they're supposed to do. What has this child done and everything.
Okay.
That's what we thought at the time.
So this is year 1. Kenny, I'm going to go over to you. What's your son called?
It's Kobimtochi.
Kobimtochi. Oh, that's Kobimtochi. I've never heard that name before. That's beautiful. So from your own experience, at what stage did you notice signs of, Kobe being different or doing things differently or processing things differently?
So we noticed it when Kobe was very young. Even though we hadn't ascribed anything to it or label, we were not even thinking autism at that time. When he was growing up, for instance, little things like Kobe didn't crawl. Kobe used to roll all over the place. His movement was rolling. I think later on we found out that he's a vestibular seeker, something they say, he likes movement. So Kobe went from rolling to standing to walking. He didn't crawl. In that, so that was interesting. But, it's just what kids do. And then a few times, the eye contact wasn't heavily there, but he could maintain eye contact now and then. But sometimes you will call him or refer to his name and he won't look at you. So babies, if you call, by the time they get an attachment to their names and you call them, they will respond or look or happy. But he might, you might call him and he won't respond to the name. So subtle things like that. Or when he was little, like a couple of years old, 2, 3, little boy, you go to the park, you go to kind of some football academy, for little kids to kind of play ball, and then they put the ball and they all run and come and kick the ball. Everyone does it. When it's Kobe's turn, he won't go to the ball. And when he has to now go, he will just walk past the ball like the ball never existed.
Kobe had his own agenda.
He was on his own. He was moving on his own rhythm, irrespective of what anyone was doing. Calm, chilled, but you thought, was it like that he wasn't interested or anything? At home, obviously he would play with things, but when he was in a situation with other people and children, etc., for him to participate in a group thing is almost like, every kid does. For him to come and do, I can do it, he will not do that. Because he won't even, later on we also got to understand motor issues related with that. So he also took time for his motor, balance and things to be able to settle. So how to kick a ball, even to jump and little things. You realize these things have to be learned. So he will not participate in those things, but we thought, okay, he was just being Kobe. When he went into nursery to start with, he wouldn't engage with other kids. In that sense, he always wanted his own space. And the same even translates now. Kobe kind of struggles to engage with other children. He finds it easier to engage with adults than he does actually with those his own age or younger. And that was also the case from being young. So he would go into class and nursery, quiet, because he's always had a very calm demeanor. You always thought, it's been okay. He's been chilled. But also things, you're expecting some words. So this is also a thing, because Kobe is non-speaking. I think some places they use non-verbal, non-speaking. So non-speaking, initially when he was younger, he had a few words, like dada, mama, a few things. So you thought, okay, he's building up words, but it's slower.
It's not there yet.
When it was more obvious when parents meet with the new, young kids to play in a group, and then suddenly you start seeing the differences. Others are speaking, but Kobe's not speaking. We thought, okay, it was delayed because that's just the way it is. Some people walk later, maybe some people speak later. We used to have a joke in our family about our dad walking later. So I assumed, okay, Kobe's going to speak later, like some people walked later. But you notice those words were not coming through as fast, but we thought that was happening in its own pace. But actually later on, instead of the words, or the number of words and let's say vocabulary increasing, after a while, it appeared to peak, and if anything, it started reducing.
Okay. So how old would you say, around how old was Kobe then when you started noticing like more obvious signs that there was something different?
So I'm talking at this stage, you're looking at 3.
Okay.
4, because he was diagnosed at 4.
Okay.
At 4 years old, but then he wasn't, you could see from going to nursery what was going to be next, etc., that he wasn't following the typical way, engaging with kids in the other way, playing in the same way, how he was going to be also in class, learning the words also were not coming out. And certain things one would do in terms of maybe just watching out, general safety awareness, little things, kids, you start seeing subtle differences. But I would say it was more, you notice it more in midst of other kids. When we were just with him, we didn't really notice much. You're going on, it was our first child. What experience did we have? Then suddenly, in the midst of other kids the same age,
it's a bit different.
You start noticing those differences moving. But when the words kind of peaked, and if anything started reducing, and we were not sure if he could understand what we were saying. So that was all because his response will not be the same way a neurotypical kid would be. Yes, I hear you. So we now were not sure if he could hear. So he got tested for hearing, different things, etc. So at that time, actually, then what we did, we had plans. Amiibo, my wife Lana is Yoruba.
Oh,
we thought we were going to be speaking different languages between English, Igbo, and Yoruba for him to learn.
The 3 different languages.
Yeah, that was the whole plan. But when...
Sorry, I laughed because I was like, with Z, how many languages do you speak with?
That's actually what affected Z and why she went to the French school.
Oh, okay.
Because we wanted her to get a language, but because we couldn't, because we weren't sure if Kobe was understanding, we then had a rule that we were just going to keep it to English. Just to make sure, because we still wanted to make sure that he understood. So we didn't want to complicate matters
by throwing
anymore. So all we were going to speak was English. And actually, as a result, so when Zina was time to go, we sent her to the French school from the beginning, just to kind of pick up a language, because we weren't going to speak.
So Z is your older,
no,
the younger,
is the
younger sister. Okay.
So when that happened, and you started thinking, it became evident, and then also he had things like asthma, 1 or 2 things. He was some allergies in terms of gluten, different things. So he was being tested for some of those things, and that's when we started the process of trying to seek some sort of diagnosis without knowing what it was. Something was different. And that journey is what kind of led us to the doctor that eventually, the specialist that eventually diagnosed the autism, and that was around age 4.
Wow. I didn't know that they could diagnose autism that young. Okay.
Because I think to say it's a spectrum.
Where they are in the spectrum.
So it's a spectrum. So because this is a spectrum, you still have some people who've gone and lived within the spectrum. You think, okay, this person is all, they do things differently. I look back and I see people who I think may have been, but because we were not exposed to it.
Of course.
So, but because it's a spectrum, you see, so when it's more severe, tomorrow in Kobe's case, and also non-speaking and motor and other related issues, it jumps out in front of you. It's not easy to mask.
Yeah, because it's that, okay.
Literally jumps
Okay, so Kobe was diagnosed at 4 years old. Kamsi
was diagnosed at, she was 10? 10.
Is it 10 or 9?
Yeah, 9 or 10.
So she started year 1.
Started year 1, all good. So we did, play therapy, regular
everything to try to support.
Just to try and see, okay, what was going on. And then by year 2, she was selectively mute.
Yeah, because it was funny, she will act up at school, but when she comes home, she's different.
That's what I was going to say. In the house, did you guys notice anything?
We got confused, okay, she's different because she's got her brothers and she'll play normally, everything, she's not acting up, nothing.
And even thinking was acting up.
So you would think, okay, is it school?
How come you're fine at home?
Something at school. That's why initially I started telling Amaka,
the teachers
the kids, something, because she wasn't like this at reception.
Yeah, which makes sense. You'd be wondering.
She been bullied.
Being bullied,
So you said that she was selectively mute.
She was selectively.
What does that mean?
Basically, she would go to school but not say a word.
Just ignore everybody.
Ignore everyone you're talking to. The teachers are talking to her. She might choose one teacher, like a head teacher, to respond to, so that way they would take her to the office. In a class, she wouldn't say anything during break time. So any unstructured times at school, like break time or PE, where there was less structure, she would just stand in one spot and not move. And there was nothing you could do. And then obviously that also, so the school started, because I think every school has a Senko attached to them. So they said, we think this is where you need to look at. And so we,
Then started the process to try and nail down what it was, because at this point you didn't know.
But then it then started. It was quite. It took, because like Mela says, if at home she's okay, but then again that's a safe little space. Which is what she's got. Kamsi's got 2 older brothers, and also I think also even if we step it back one, because Kosi's older than Kamsi, so she's got 1. older than her. And he had slightly similar schooling issues, but by the time he got to year 4, he was fine. I used to go into school on a weekly basis for Kosi. He was in the same school as our elder one, Kanye, but Mello would drop Kanye off, and then I would rock up to school with Kosi at about 10 a.m. because
that was when
he takes his time.
He would take his time.
If he's not ready, he wouldn't want to.
You can't do anything.
To school. Like
he will have to take his time and get ready. Different how he wants butterflies.
To. Yeah. And this is what I want to wear.
Yeah.
It's not like, but
he was fine by it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we didn't have to worry about any of that. So we thought, okay, she following a similar pattern, and it would kind of just
fizzle out.
Yeah, and but it didn't. And I think when the selective mutism worried us, the fact that she struggled in school in terms of the friendships and like would have these meltdowns at home, and they're not just the meltdowns. When your child is talking about not wanting to live or just having such struggles,
that was much later, though.
Actually, that was when she was about 8.
Yeah,
so, I guess it's later than 6.
Later than 6. Yeah, later than she was.
So it was just this thing at school was just getting worse. Her experience of school was getting more and more difficult for her.
Yeah, but Kamsi is also very. The fact that she would actually get to school, and obviously one of the things that they did in part of her referral pathway was I had to go on a cognitive behavioral therapy course, just different things to try and support her, and and I remember seeing parents where they couldn't get the kids to school. And I was like, but Kamsi goes to school. She does it scared. Her anxiety levels go up. Her anxiety levels go up as you're dropping her into school.
But getting close to school, that's when,
But she wants to go because she also she doesn't want to miss out on things.
Yes.
And yet when she gets there, then there's a struggle.
She wants to make friends, but she can't really.
Listen, you see this thing, and we were talking about this earlier. This has got to be this for girls, and we had this conversation because I have a girl, as you know. The issue with girls is for a mother, it's very emotionally, it's very painful. Let me put it that it's very painful because girls have all their issues and friends are very important to them.
Very.
So I can that bit of what you were going through, I totally understand, because at the time my daughter and her friends fell out, or they fell out with her, whatever happened, it was difficult for me I would take her to school. I said, I'll take you to school. Just before they close the school gate, so you can just go in quickly, and know that when you come out of that school, know that my car is there. And that was how we got through that process. So when we were talking earlier, I was just like, oh my God, that made me really sad, because that's really, it's a big thing for girls, friends.
But even what you just said now, about even just trying to figure out a way to support them. With Kamsi, you get her to school really early. She has to be one of the first there. So we're there before 8 a.m. The school. So you get her to school super early.
To park further down.
She'll tell you where to park.
She tells you where to park, and you can't also speak to her
until the doors open.
Yeah,
and then she goes.
And then she's like, some days you can see her; it's more visible. She's like,
psyching herself.
And then other days she would just gather her things and walk in. And then once she leaves the car, you can see it's a different persona. She's walking in, back straight, like
really
get
ready.
Because then she has to, because she also plans her days, and then she will rehearse what she says in school. And I get the full load of this because also I do for a time I was doing a lot of the drop-offs and pickups, and she will rehearse, and then she'll say to you, this is what I'm going to do when they say this. So she'll play out different scenarios so that she's ready. And sometimes who am I? I'm just a regular mom, and I'll be like, oh, why don't you? It's like, no, you can't. And then as she's talking to you and you try and you say, oh, why don't you? She would get mad because you've interrupted her thought process.
And how she plans to do.
How she's planned to tell you stuff. So she would then either shut down or just not speak anymore. because she has to construct it first. And then when it's flowing out, just give her space for it to flow out. And if you interrupt it, and these are things that we just learned. I learned a lot in the cars.
To close your, to zip your mouth.
Battered.
To zip your mouth.
Zip my mouth.
But I think a lot of the time, her reactions to Nene is different to her reactions to me.
Really? Okay.
If I pick her up and she's telling me the stories, okay, this person did it, I will respond. I say, okay, if it was me, this is what I would do. But it's you, though. You do what you want to do. And she kind of listens. She will listen to my suggestion. But then sometimes she'll say, okay, but mom said this. I say, yes, mom is right, but this is me. This is my own.
What I would
have done. But at the end of the day, it's you, though.
But could that be because you were hearing things that had already happened and how she dealt with them, as opposed to her plan?
Yeah,
her pre-plan. It could be. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Who knows? Yeah. You know. But I think normally, she
has more of a playful.
She has
really
different. Like we could do. Like, okay, for instance, she might be trying to say something and I'll be like, okay, fine, I'm not listening. She will understand it as a joke.
I could never.
Those are, or sometimes I'll be like, okay, maybe she gets me upset and then I won't talk. If I don't talk, then she knows, okay, this guy is upset. And then sometimes she can actually get off at me and talk and talk. So it can be different sometimes.
Kenny, is it like that with Kobe and Lana? It's Lana, right? Your wife.
Yeah.
Would you say that the way he reacts to both of you is different?
Yes, it is. And I think it's the same with children, actually, across the board. Most of the time, the way I see it is that they pick up different energies, and the different parents play different roles.
Absolutely.
So we're just playing roles. So it's less to the individual. It was more to kind of the role that is being also played in that context and what they feel. So there is definitely a difference. How can I put it? Kobe's prepared to push the boundaries more with Lana. Yes. Extremely. So in the same old way, different things are. Okay, wait, your daddy's here.
Yes.
Now let's
Dad is coming back.
So certain things he would do, then Lana saying it's because daddy's here now. You're doing it. So he would do it like it's never a problem. Then when I'm not there, then she'll be struggling to get him to do the thing. Problem. He won't be paying attention. Oh, please. So things like that. So that's
different. That's okay. I think I was just asking because I wanted to know, because their world is different. So it's just to see what the similarities are.
Yeah.
You know. Okay.
They act like kids in that sense.
So it's still the same thing.
What I also see is that beyond, so from what I've kind of noticed is beyond the external personas we put on, they pick up more in the energy. So they know when you're bluffing. So they can tell when you're bluffing, and no matter even if your mom and you raise your voice, whatever, they know that behind that is just a cut. So they can pick it up, but also, and they can also try. You can also try it with me, but the tone just needs to change a little bit. Like, dude, then he knows, okay, he's serious. For whatever reason, he can pick up the change in energy that, okay, he's serious. He's not joking, and then he does it. So I think that they actually pick up the energies, and that they're just prepared to just sometimes just push it a little bit more if they know you're not serious.
As they should, they're children anyway.
That's true, actually, because Kamsi even says, okay, though I play a lot, I'm too playful, but at the same time she will say, oh, I'm too strict, I'm too protective of her. So you can see. So and then
she decides when she's okay.
Exactly.
The energy thing was actually quite helpful for me, because it was Kenny who told me about the energy. Because when we first moved to Northampton, we were ferrying Kamsi to school in London because we couldn't change her at that point. Change has to be quite planned, and we thought, okay, just let her finish grade 6, and those long journeys where she would pick up on my energy. So although I think, I'm just saying X, Y, and Z, or I'm not giving, she could pick up on my energy, and it was until Kenny told me that, then I had to really think, okay, it's not just in terms of what you say or on
you're free.
I just have to breathe through and let go whatever it was.
I fell for her through that period. Because sometimes
she was hearing it. She was hearing it.
She'll be bawling her out loud. So she'll put her through hell. Like,
and then I would feel, imagine how jealous I would feel when, say, on the days Mello would do the run, they're coming back, and I see these two people with McDonald's chatting, walking,
strolling happily,
and it didn't happen with me. And it's like, they get different things, and you have different, And I remember I would feel jealous. There was no two ways about it.
And the thing is, you're both very different, because I know both of you. You guys are wild. You guys are very different. So it only makes sense that. Okay, so Kamsi was diagnosed at 8. Right?
9
or 10. Yeah. Okay. What is a typical day? Now she's now 13.
Yep.
What is a typical day like for you in this household, both of you, with Kamsi now?
A typical day, do you know what? It hasn't changed too much from primary school days, apart from the fact that you now have obviously puberty, hormones.
Lord.
But in terms of the learning, I think what's changed is actually more Mello and I and how we approach her.
Yes.
And one of the things I realized is, she'll get on with me, Mom, you're trying to do X, Y, and Z, you're a helicopter mom, and
I like that.
When she has, I'm like,
are you serious? That
vocabulary.
Helicopter mom.
I didn't even know you could even talk
and
like
that's
this.
so clear. Now I even know what that means.
Mello as having ADHD.
Yes.
She's like, Dad, you've got ADHD. So she's there. Someone that you're trying to support
is telling you your own about your life. Telling you about your life. So are you serious?
Yeah. So it's just more how we've changed in terms of just really just dialing it all down, because I realized she felt you can't make a project out of Kamsi. You can't fix her. And the whole thing about energy and feeling, I thought, I'm trying to help you. Oh no, I can see you're struggling with this, let me help you. And then it was like, no, sometimes just wait for me to ask for the help. Don't just come in.
She does that with the teachers.
Really?
Yeah,
you're hovering around her.
This helicopter, like a helicopter.
Yeah.
True.
It's like, let me ask. Let me find my rhythm first, and then I will ask. And until I understood that I was coming in and I was crowding her, not even letting her think, and the sensory issues. Like, I remember having a conversation with her once, and she said to me, Mom, when you look on the ground, what do you see? I'm like, I see the floor. She's like, but that's not what I see. I see every hole inside, through the floor. I see the holes, and which would make sense because, she's like, I said to you, if she goes into a place, if it's untidy or there's an insect somewhere.
Like in the school, like the other children chewing too loudly or something.
She never used to eat in the ref. She wouldn't eat in the ref, so there was once they made her go to the ref. This was in year 2, and she ran away. And then the school called me because there was an incident. They didn't know where she was. All she'd done, she'd actually gone back to her classroom, but it was unsupervised. There was no teacher there. It was opposite to where the ref was. And the school went in a panic because they forced her into an environment that
she didn't want to be.
She couldn't cope in. And then her response to that, I'll stop eating.
Yeah.
And then she'll just stay there and then they would get on. She doesn't eat.
She'll come back home famished,
and then eat her food.
Oh, cow.
But the whole worry at school would also help because they would be like, Kamsi's got to eat. She doesn't eat. And then I was like, you guys are going to give my child an eating disorder.
Yeah.
She comes home and then she eats. And then you can see her. She's a healthy child. And I remember being scared about that because she would also look for things to latch on to. Because there was also an element of control. If you're in an environment where you feel out of control, you find something you can control. Sorry, I digress.
No, that's fine.
What an everyday is like. And every day is going through. She's made huge before.
Progress,
before just getting ready for school, was such an ordeal. Now you just leave it to, won't we just wake her up? She'll get herself ready. She knows we have to leave the house at 7:30. She'll be down at 7:30. But they're little things. She will struggle. She can't to make herself breakfast to eat because she will struggle to fit that into her routine. She just won't eat. And then in school, she doesn't eat. And I started getting worried. She's going an entire day without eating. She comes home ravenous. And then the learning that's supposed to happen in school, if you haven't got fuel, and then I would make her, I'd just make her a little bowl of porridge in the morning. She'll eat that in the car, just so that I know she's actually getting some fuel. The learning academically as well, she's made huge progress. I wasn't sure she was going to be able to read because we struggled so much. And by year 5, we were still K-A-T. Looking for different teachers. Someone would say, oh, there's this Montessori method, blah, blah, blah. I remember one specialist teacher that was recommended, and I took her. Kamsi was really settling in there. After about 2 months, she decided she couldn't teach Kamsi. She wasn't teachable.
What?
Just the disappointment. It's not my disappointment, her disappointment, because she was getting to trust, because she has to settle. She's like, why doesn't she want to teach me anymore? And I couldn't explain
that to her.
She said she can't. And I just thought, you know what? It was my mom who said to me, Nene, you didn't read until you were in grade 4.
Really?
So, she took the opportunity to humble me more. But that was okay.
To tell you about your life.
Tell me about my life.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that never worried me.
That's a very different.
Yeah.
That's a very, very different about this thing.
Yeah.
So that one was not even. You were not even. That was not even your.
Worried. Because I always I don't know. I always see her. I always saw her, and I still do, in a very different light. Even though I got to know about it late, or rather I embrace it late. Like, okay, she's got autism, different spectrum.
So let's talk about that. You just said you embraced it late. So does that mean that you found it very challenging to actually accept that that's what it was?
Yes and no. No, yes, in the sense that initially, because of the way they handled it growing up from the reception and year 1, I thought, do they really know what they're doing? And then because I didn't understand that autism was a spectrum. And obviously from Kenny's, from Kobe, Kobe I adore so much, and I could understand how Kenny them were dealing with it. And I thought, okay, this is autism. And then,
so for you, Kobe was what autism looked like.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
I couldn't understand that.
That
and then
makes sense.
also this child that I deal with as well, the way we relate, how could this also be autism? So how come I'm not experiencing that difficult, and then you at school experiencing it? What's happening?
It has to be you guys.
Exactly. So it was different. And I always used to tell her, and I tell her even up till today, you're very, and she is very intelligent. Kamsi is very intelligent, very smart. She knows this, when to do, and another thing, the way she copes with it.
Yes, she's incredibly
I'm amazed. Wow.
Yeah.
Some of the things, some even older people, adults can't because what she goes through in school.
Yeah.
Because girls, especially, can be really awful, especially at that age as well.
Yeah.
So I tell her every time, don't ever let anyone tell you differently. You're very intelligent, very smart. So that's the thing. That's why I thought she's gonna.
She'll read
when it's time. She will read. And even now, even her performance in school, she's improved so much. Surprised everyone. Even when she started reading, we didn't.
I was so impressed because even for the year 6 leavers ball, they all had to read, and I was in church. Remember, this is someone up until the year before. I take her to her optician's appointment. You know how you have the letters?
Yes.
I remember feeling embarrassed that she couldn't say A, H, C, A, her.
Good, yeah.
So
know what that is. This is someone in year 5. And I remember some of that, and that's where some of that energy as well, where she could see me contract. because I'm thinking, oh God, they're going to be judging her. They're going to be saying that I'm.
How come she's this age and she's not?
Yeah. And then even just letting all of that go was so important for me to be able to relate to her from a different energy level as well. But I remember, so in year 6, and I remember when I said to Nella, oh God, I wonder if she's going to read. And she read her own bit, and I was shocked. The teachers were like, wow, comes this and that, but I don't even want to sugarcoat anything. She is still working towards national minimum level. So I don't want to give any impression, and we're good with that.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening to episode 1. Let me know your thoughts about what you heard. For episode 2, listen out. Be sure to subscribe, because that's the only way you're not going to miss out. Thank you.